right, so we're going to continue our notes on interpersonal communication, part 3. We have covered so far that interpersonal communication is communication between two people, not three, that's small group communication, not one, that's intrapersonal. So interpersonal communication deals with the idea of two people communicating with each other. We've also established that the imagined interaction theory is the idea that we think about talking before we talk. We think about conversations after we've conversated with someone or we conversed with them, if you will. So if we're always thinking about communication, then the imagined interaction theory works. Then yesterday we talked about the social penetration theory, whereas over time you will let people in closer. You go from the superficial layer to the intimate layer to the personal layer to the core layer. Your core usually being held by like your best friend, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your spouse, maybe your parents, your best friend, anything like that. And then we also talk about how we communicate based on the needs of attraction, either physical attraction, so you like how they look, so you want to talk to them, situational attraction, so you want to talk to them because you're in the same setting or the situation demands it, or there's also shared interest. You're into the same thing as them, so therefore you want to communicate with them. And we communicate based on needs, which we will go into later on in the semester, but also, yeah, we can't just be by ourselves our entire life. So today with interpersonal communication, we're talking about relationships because, believe it or not, and I don't want to like blow anyone's mind here, but every single one of you is in a relationship, not necessarily like dating someone, but you're in a relationship with every single person in your life. So every relationship that you've ever had, currently have, or will fall into one of these stages at any given time. There's no specific time window or like, but you can move through these. You can move backwards. You can move at any point. Any relationship, either with your friend, your parent, your cousin, your dog, your cat. I mean, dogs always love you, but like cats, you got to earn their love. So I've been told. But either way, we're going to see all the different stages of relationships and how they move throughout our lives. So let's start with the initiation phase. So this is when you find someone in class and you're like, oh, they seem kind of interesting. So maybe I'll start talking to them. So you start talking to that person and you realize that they're really interesting. And you're like, maybe we could be friends, maybe not. I don't really know. I'm just kind of saying hi to them or whatever. But then you move up to the next level, which is experimentation. So experimentation is you start to break away from like whatever groups you were in, and you start to kind of like spend a little bit of time with each other, at least in a lone sense. So you're texting them, you're DMing them, you're doing whatever, just to kind of have that little like, hey, there's no one else around and we're talking. Just figuring out if this is going to be a good friendship, a good relationship, a good whatever you decide to make out of it. Next, when things get better, we move into the intensifying stage. So the intensifying stage is when you start labeling the relationship more, like this is my friend, this is my boyfriend, we're talking, if you will. And so you kind of move from the idea of I'm done experimenting with this person. I know that I want them, at the very least, I want them to be part of my life. But I'm not really going to change my life around them because that's the next stage, the integration stage. So the integration stage is when you really start to plan your life around that person. So this is like maybe you introduce your boyfriend to your parents, or your girlfriend to your parents, or you introduce your best friend to the rest of your friend group, or you have something that kind of shows that, hey, I'm not just planning for myself now, I'm also planning for you because you are an important person, and I want to plan things around our friendship or around our relationship. Then we move from the integration phase to the bonding stage. So bonding isn't just like, oh, we went to the park and she told me why she loved Coldplay, and that was how I knew that we were going to be friends, and it was a nice moment. And then as we high fived, a bird flew by. No, that's not what bonding is. That is technically bonding, but in the case of this relationship model, bonding is when you decide to like affix yourself to that person. When you decide to stick with that person, I'm going to marry you. I'm going to date you. We are officially in a relationship. Like you are my ride or die. You are my best friend. You are whatever it is that you've bonded. Like you are completely like it's an official relationship. Now from there, big arrow. Where's my big arrow? Relational maintenance. You want to be here forever. Like you want to be here forever and ever and ever. Where's my little drawing thing? You want to try to be here forever. Horrible infinity sign. But the point is, Mr. Smith, why? Well, relational maintenance, this is what happens when the relationship no longer becomes new, when the relationship is not interesting anymore. And so you're just with that person because you want to be around that person. So you plan deciding how the relationship is going to work moving forward. You want to work on that relationship. It becomes not necessarily a job because I feel like calling it that takes away some of the emotion from it. But you want to work to make the relationship sustainable. You want to keep it together, and so because of that, people get married and they decide, let's stay married. It's fun. It's a good time. People get together, and believe it or not, they stay together. I have a coworker that she married her high school boyfriend, and they've been together for I think like 15 years at this point. But it is possible. It doesn't always happen, and people joke on it, but it is possible. And they have a really good marriage, they have a really good relationship because they work really well at relational maintenance. Now, Mr. Smith, what happens when you don't do that? What happens when there's no relational maintenance and we start to come apart? So the other half of Knapp's relationship model is the coming apart phase, and this happens through quite a few different steps. So let's go ahead and walk through those. So when we decide to stop working on relational maintenance, we start differentiating. Differentiating is when you are finding out things about that person that you didn't really expect, and maybe it's something that you're not really crazy about, like, oh, I don't like the way that they talk to servers at a restaurant, or oh, I don't like the way that they respond to people on social media. I don't like the way that they drink water, which is that's just like a fake one, but essentially, you're starting to kind of discover things about that person. This happens a lot with like parents after their kids have like left for college. They have empty nest syndrome, um, and so they like for the longest time they were working on taking care of kids, but now they don't really know what to do with each other. So we move from differentiating to circumscribing. This one is the scariest one for me personally, because these are people that would rather work around an issue than work towards it. I truly think that you can reach almost any solution through communication. But when you decide to stop communicating and when you decide to move around it, so like, oh, well, he's in a bad mood or she's in a bad mood, so I'm just not going to talk to her today. I'm not going to talk to him today. If you decide to do that, then you're circumscribing the situation, and that's going to lead to the next one, which is stagnation. Now, stagnant isn't a word that gets used fairly often, but you might have heard of stagnant water. It's like water that doesn't really move, so it gets gross. Same thing works with relationships. If a relationship stagnates, then it's not moving forward, and so because of that, you get more circumscribing, more differentiating, and things just get worse. From there, you start to avoid that person. You start to plan around them. You don't really want to be with them. You think about your time apart from them more than you do with them, and it can be really, really sad. But it is one thing that happens. A lot of people before they get divorced, they get separated, which is where they just decide to live in other places. Now, again, this works with friendships as well too. Like you might start a group chat without your friend. You might start a group chat without a certain individual. You might just stop texting back or leaving, or you might leave someone on red, or you might do something to kind of ghost them, or whatever you need to kind of describe that. But avoiding is the second to last step, and of course the last one is the termination of the relationship, whether that is a divorce, whether that is no longer being friends with them, whether that is blocking them, whether it is it depends on the relationship, but again, that's how it works. Now, I added this part in this morning because I feel like it's really important to address this. Some of our relationships will end, as that is part of life, but you can hold on to the ones that you care about through shared relational maintenance. This requires effort from both people involved with interpersonal communication. So to kind of explain my point, we're going to watch a clip from The Notebook. If you've never seen The Notebook, it's very sad, but it's also a really good movie. Even though all of what's his face, Nicholas Sparks, I think is his name, all of his movies are basically about the same thing. Boy likes girl, girl likes boy. Girl kind of doesn't like boy, but girl eventually learns to love boy, and then some unforeseen tragedy befalls them, and so they aren't able to be together. Except this one has a pretty happy ending. But I do like this clip specifically because it talks about relational maintenance. Now, we're going to notice Noah, who is played by Ryan Gosling. We're going to notice that he is going to be trying to commit to relational maintenance. He wants to work on their relationship. Now you'll notice that Allie, who is played by Rachel McAdams, does not want to do that. She leaves, and so she's circumscribing the situation. So let's kind of go through and see how this conversation works out in real time, because we can talk about this all day, but I would much rather us actually look at an example.
Son of a bitch!
Did you just stay with me?
Stay with you. What for? Look at us. We're already fighting.
Well, that's what we do. We fight. You tell me when I'm being an arrogant son of a bitch, and I tell you when you're being a pain in the ass. Which you are, 99% of the time. I'm not afraid to hurt your feelings. They have like a 2-second rebound rate, and you're back doing the next pain in the ass thing.
So what?
So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be really hard. We're going to have to work at this every day, but I want to do that because I want you. I want all of you, forever. You and me, every day. Will you do something for me? Please, just picture your life for me. 30 years from now, 40 years from now, what's it look like? If it's with that guy, go. Go! I lost you once. I think I could do it again. If I thought it's what you really wanted. But don't you take the easy way out.
What easy way? There is no easy way. No matter what I do, somebody gets hurt.
Would you stop thinking about what everyone wants? Stop thinking about what I want, what he wants, what your parents want. What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want? What do you want?
I have to go.
So, in the clip, we see, if we go back to our notes, we see that Allie is currently circumscribing. She's moving around the problem instead of dealing with it head on. Now, of course, Mr. Smith, does that make her the bad guy in the situation? I don't think so, because remember that a relationship requires both people to be very present in a lot of these instances. So, if both people aren't willing to work on the relationship, there really isn't anything that anyone can do about it. If someone has just decided, I'm done trying to work at this, I want to kind of, figure out, we need to do something else, then that's a completely legitimate and an okay thing to do. But the willingness to work on the relationship, that's relational maintenance. When you decide that you don't want to do that because things have changed, or you're noticing something about the individual that you didn't like, that's also legitimate, and it's also very okay to do. But I hope that this explains Knapp's relationship model. I hope it explains relational maintenance, and I hope it also explains interpersonal relationships. That's going to be it for the notes.